Hello, everybody, and welcome to Joy Factor. Today, I have a guest that I'm very excited to introduce to you. His name is John Ward. John Ward is a Vancouver-based writer, filmmaker, and podcaster. His comic book credits include The Memory Machine, Acausal, Scratcher, and Offbeats. His fiction credits include Sweet Delicious Candy, Three Tokens for Mammon, and Consumed. He's a graduate of the UCLA Professional Program in Screenwriting and was a past recipient of the Telefilm Canada New Voices Award. He's the creator and host of 49 Degrees North Writers Podcast, has made award-winning short films such as Solus, Dollhouse, and Linda, and is the founder of Virtual Creator Con. John was previously a theoretical physicist, obtaining a PhD in string theory from Queen Mary University of London. He subsequently worked at CERN, a European scientific think tank, the University of Iceland, and the University of Victoria. He is now in Vancouver and uses his science background to consult on TV and film projects. Welcome, John. I'm just going to do a land acknowledgement before we get into our conversation. John and I both come to you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. A land acknowledgement is done at Joy Factor in order to promote and contribute to the reconciliation process here in Canada. So welcome, John. Thank you
Thanks for
for
having
being
me.
here.
And thanks for the resume rundown there. I was like, wow, this person sounds really impressive. And I'm like, oh, is it me? Yeah, sadly, all of that is true. Yeah, it's kind of like, it sounds really impressive when you put it together like that. I guess over time, though, it kind of like, it feels like it's a different person entirely.
Aw, well, you are you and you are here.
Yes.
And I met you through the Federation of BC Writers. You did a presentation for us last week at a conference that was virtually held regarding getting funding through Kickstarter. And you actually wrote a book about that as well.
Yeah, it's a very short book. Um, it's not that there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with crowdfunding. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a whole branch of research now that exists around it, which kind of is spread across different fields.
Mhm.
I've just been interested in getting into, crowdfunding as a way to, like as an indie creator, kind of like finding a way to kind of operate, and then I was trying to share some thoughts about like what I was learning, but on the practical side of me doing my own campaigns, but then also kind of like what is the science saying about this?
Mhm.
And trying to kind of merge these kind of two things together and then kind of distill them down for practical tips for creators. And like I ended up with like, like 30 or 40 different pieces about it that I kind of put together, and I just put together a small little book. Um, Not exhaustive, just very kind of introductory for a lot of people, but yeah, maybe of interest to some.
The biggest takeaway that I got from you, and which is why I reached out to you, was it's about creating community.
Mm,
And I think that if people are looking to do any kind of crowdfunding, is to join the community first before
yeah.
you actually start um, trying to run a campaign. And like
Yeah.
be there and participate in the community for a while to learn kind of the ecosystem before you get there, like before you try and do something.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say like this is the crowdfunding is kind of like it's kind of talked about. It's got two parts. It's got the crowd and the funding.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just focused on the funding, but it's actually
Mm,
the crowd part is just as important. And I think as creators, the reality is that you can't do this on your own. It doesn't
mm.
matter what you're creating, you need a community around you and you need to be part of a community. So if you're not part of a community, I think it's very hard to kind of make inroads. You're in a complete bubble. So I think creators are kind of predisposed to kind of connecting with other creators. So this isn't super difficult. It's just that
No.
you have to kind of realize that people are not your competitors.
Right.
They're actually your biggest. supporters and champions, like you're the biggest supporter and champion of somebody that whose work you love. And I think that's kind of the essence of like crowdfunding is kind of just connecting and building a community where you are in the kind of space that you're working in, and then using these tools to kind of help resource what you're trying to make. So yeah, so it's I kind of view it that way. Like a lot of the things that we do are really around connecting and building communities. And I think like that makes us stronger as creators. And it also makes our community stronger because we have that kind of central kind of binding element that kind of keeps us working together.
Right. And it supports our humanity as we get, as creators now are kind of worried about the implications of artificial intelligence that may erode some of the content that is out there. But fortunately, human brains are smart enough, I like to believe, to
Yeah,
discern the difference between the content that is automatically generated or artificially generated towards the content that is generated from the creative human soul and mind.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on AI. I don't think we have enough time to get into them today, but yes,
Oh,
I
I
agree.
know.
Um, no, I mean, I think for me personally, like, I think like for me, creating is about the process
Mm,
and AI is about the outcome.
mm,
People just want to like they just want to end up with the thing and they don't want to go through the process of creating the thing. Whereas
ah,
for me, like I actually like I write because I'm just really trying to understand myself.
mm,
Um, as I write whatever I'm writing in whatever format, I kind of learn something new about myself, and I hope that what I've learned is kind of useful for those other people out there because we're all like these individual bubbles of water that kind of exist in this like universe, but we actually are more similar and connected than we really sort of think. And it's just that's how I kind of conceptualize these kind of things, these connections of kind of learning. Reading a book can transform your life because you kind of see yourself in that material. And the author of that book did that work to kind of examine themselves and put it down. And that's kind of like my approach. And that's where I think like the divergence happens with generative AI is that like it's not about that process. It's just
right,
delivering, spitting something out. And I think I don't resonate with that. I resonate with the process because you can feel that there's learning in there.
right. Cool. So talk to me about your virtual con. Let's explore that.
Yeah, okay, sure. I so yeah, from the introduction you gave, which is very generous of you, you can see that like I'm very divergent in like how I operate. I make comics. For comic creators, a big part of that is connecting with audience fans, and other creators at comic conventions.
Hmm.
Um, it's the same for authors. You kind of got the author events, book fair, those kind of things. The challenge is that cons are becoming like increasingly expensive.
Hmm.
There's more creators, so the application process is getting harder and harder for creators because it's not that you just say, "Oh, hey, I want to come." You have to go through a vetting process, and then you have to pay money for a table, and
Mm.
then you've got costs associated with travel and accommodation, and like everything's basically getting more and more expensive. And then on the flip side, for audience members, if you want to go in, it's those cons are also getting very, very expensive. And if you've got a family, now you're spending, 200, 300 bucks just to get into these things.
Oh, yeah.
That's money that's not going to the creators. So I was thinking about like, is there a way to kind of still have that con experience, but like in a digital space? And it's not the same, obviously, like being on Zoom like we are today is not the same as being face to face, but you can kind of do some things. And so I kind of I created this convention. So it operates basically like a normal like in-person convention, and that you've got like an artist alley where there's creators and they're kind of selling, their work. And then we've kind of got panels, interviews and other things in the other part of the space. And so I put that together. And then I decided that what I wanted to do was to kind of differentiate it from a lot of like other like online digital conventions to kind of like one to make it free so anyone can kind of participate for free, and then two to kind of like only run it so everything's only available for the duration of the convention. So a lot, there's like a library con event where they kind of have all the interviews available. Like you can kind of just pay like a, like the the Writers Festival here does a similar thing where they have like all these things that you pay a fee and then you can kind of access the material. That's not how we operate.
Okay.
All of the interviews, all of the panels, everything disappears at the end of the con. And if you didn't see it, then you missed it. So this
Okay.
is something that I started a couple of years ago, and it's uh, slowly getting bigger. I mean, we're using like organic methods.
Hmm.
I'm not using you're not using ads to kind of drive people there, but sort of
Right.
you through word of mouth and through connecting with people, trying to just get indie creators in, and then kind of also then make it accessible for audiences. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's but but it's trying to do something different, I think, for creators and for comic fans.
Cool. That's great. Okay, well, we'll link it below, and all
Thank
26
you.
of my subscribers. We'll see what you're doing.
But, yeah, I mean, 26 is, but I mean, if you think about it, 26 people, if you were speaking to 26 people in a room, that would feel
Mhm.
like quite a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, I think we kind of like, I think we live in a world where we're kind of taught that you have to kind of compare numbers and like bigger is better. And I don't think it is. I mean, it's kind of like I would rather have like a channel like with 26 people who are really invested in the work that we're talking about in that community than
Mhm.
like 200,000 people who watch, maybe the first 3 seconds and then that's it. They're not interested. So
That's right.
I think it's really about the numbers not as important as the connection and the community that you're building. So I think it's like yeah. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's an argument that both kind of actually work symbiotically together, which I think is true. But I think
Mhm.
it's for creators, you you want that connection, you want that community.
Mhm.
That's ultimately how you succeed.
Mhm.
Um, the numbers, n numbers can tell a misleading story. I mean, this is what happens all the time, but like, especially in music. You get an artist, they
Mm.
kind of toil in obscurity, then they have one hit that suddenly catapults them to superstardom. But then the next one, they have to turn around so quickly, they can't possibly do that. It's sort of the second album problem. Um,
Mhm.
and then like the number of people who are into them suddenly drops off, and if it drops off too precipitously, then they're gone, right? The record label's, oh yeah, we're done. Uh, uh, because the numbers telling a misleading story, and I think
Yeah.
it's the world that we live in that kind of is all focused on like number go up, and I just don't think that's the right way to think about it. Man.
I agree with you completely. And I was just I mean, I grew up with the music of the 70s, 80s, and she said dating herself. But I don't know any current artists. Maybe Taylor Swift is the only person that any other person I'd be like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't listen to commercial radio, so and it all sounds the same to me. So I was going back and listening to some music that I normally listen to and was like, oh, this was good music back in the day. So
Yeah. No, there's always great stuff out. I mean, there's great stuff out
sure.
that's today. It's just, our tastes kind of changed. Like we're not the same people we were.
That's true.
And the ability to find music is different than how it was for us, growing up. So in a different era. So, so again, that's like don't be hard on yourself.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
will say, no, hang on. I do know two current, like, I know that Mumford and Sons has a new album coming out, and I really like them. And I know
Yeah,
that Dawes, they're a band out of California. They're another good band that I really like. So they're good
that's great.
songwriters.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, and musicians. So that matters.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So what are you working on currently that you are able to share with us today?
Yeah, so I guess two things I can talk about. So one, so Consumed is the horror anthology that you kind of referenced in the intro there, and so
Hmm.
that's officially on sale like in a month's time, March the 3rd. This was a book I worked on with Casey Flynn last year. It was a massive undertaking. We basically decided to put together a horror anthology and kind of publish it ourselves. So we had submissions from everywhere, hundreds and hundreds of them, having to go through them, whittle them all down to a select few that were really strong, and then having to whittle those down because there were so many themes and tones that were similar, and you don't want to have too many similar kind of stories in a book, and so you don't want them together. So it was a lot of work, and we did a Kickstarter for that last at the end of 2025, which was great, and that got the book out to a bunch of people in hardcover format, and then we did a Kickstarter variant, limited edition format, and now the book is kind of coming out through retailers and the usual distributors and ebook and paperback in March. So at the moment, I'm just trying to figure out how to do some promotion for that, which is um, part of the skill set of being a creator in the 21st century, having to do that. So I'm struggling a
Hmm.
little bit with that because it's taking up even more time than I want it to. And you don't really know what the ROI is for you until it comes out, and so it's kind of there's a lot of upfront sort of thinking and yeah, like trying not to spend money on ads at the moment, but like recognizing that like at some point like that may have to happen. So there's that. And then currently there's a comic I've been working on which is called Hospice Inferno. So there's a publisher from the States, and they put out an anthology book called Hospice a couple of years ago, and they're doing a season two of that now. So I'm one of the creators who's in that anthology,
Nice.
and working on a story called Inferno that's drawn by Daniel Himeno and lettered by colored by Linda Campbell, who's on the island, and then it's going
Mm.
to be lettered by Rick Joseph in Ottawa. So there's a strong sort of Canadian component to this, and so it's a psychological horror, and we're getting close to finishing that. So that'll be out within the next month or so, I guess, is that when we'll be putting that out. So those are the two things like imminently. Like I've also got like a lot of other things that are sort of longer term writing projects ongoing. So I kind of jump between things, but those are the two things that are kind of occupying my most of my brain power right now.
I know. Well, welcome to be you in our earlier discussion before I started recording. We both talked about doing multiple projects in tandem
Yeah,
with each other, only because that's kind of how you have to work it these days in order
yeah,
to ensure that you have the content available. And
yeah. I don't know how
yeah.
it is for you, but like like I kind of find that like I need to have multiple projects because inevitably you run into it. Even though like I outline like everything before I write, as you're writing, you kind of naturally run into obstacles, and sometimes like it's just like you're trying to force like the round peg and the square peg into the round hole kind of problem. So having something to jump to is like a real jolt for my brain because now I'm thinking about these different characters in a different space, but my subconscious is still working on like the original problem. And I just find that like that's a really effective way for me to kind of operate. I mean, of course, it means that like I make slower progress because now I'm kind of edging forward on like more projects, which is not advisable in some ways, but um, I kind of do find that it does allow me to finish the projects over time, and obviously that is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you start like only two projects. If you finish neither of them, then that's really not what you want to do. Finishing is everything, and that's the way I get there.
Yeah, I would agree. Like it just allows you to just divert and think about it. It's like I'll go for a walk if I need to go do something else, or I'll run an errand.
Yeah,
I'll just lay it aside. Um, and what's nice is as I mentioned earlier, I work front of house for a theater company, so I'll get paid to sit and I'm getting paid to watch the audience, but also I watch the show. So that's another
yeah.
creative.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just allowing the subconscious part of your brain to kind of still keep operating, but kind of you can do something else. I think that's the great thing about it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of being human and
Yeah.
our own creative processes. So everybody out there, don't beat yourself up for procrastination or putting something aside. Blocks are real.
They are. I mean, and I will also say like the thing that changed something changed for me a lot like recently, and that was, you know, I used to go, I used to be able to write for like large periods of time. Like, I'm busy. Like I have a day job. I have all these other things going on. Finding time to write was always difficult, but I'd always block out like, 2 or 3 hours and I'd work. And then, you know, um, I have a family now, and it's kind of like things change, so you just don't have that time. But I was always beating myself up because I was comparing it to kind of like, oh, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. And what I did was I kind of I flipped that over and kind of said, okay, like what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna write every day, but for 8 minutes. So I'd set a timer and I'd write for 8 minutes, and then I was done. And some days that would be it. That would be all the time I had. But other days you'd be like, okay, I hit the 8 minutes, I'll do another 8 minutes. But like breaking it down into like that, it's a tiny amount of time. And you may think, well, I just don't get any words done. And you get few words done, but that's not the point. The point is that like it's about reframing it so that you don't feel that you just don't have the time, but it's that you do have the time. It's just that like if you have the little bit of time every day, that's how you write your book.
Hmm.
And that for me was a big shift. And like I talk to people about this often because for creators of any sort of stripe, finding the time and like protecting that time is really difficult. But we often feel that we're inferior because we're comparing ourselves to people who have got very different lives and different experiences, and they can do all these things and they have teams and all this stuff. And we're like, well, I
Hmm.
can't do that. Or, compare yourself to how you used to be able to do it. And so that's a big challenge and a big block for you. And I think that's where some of the fear comes from. And I'm always kind of like, no, like break it down. Like 8 minutes is doesn't sound like a lot, but you can find 8 minutes a day.
Yep.
And if you do that every day, then that's how you can make something.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing how much you can accomplish in 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that when I first did it, I was like, I basically got nothing done. I was like, well, 8 minutes, so I'm not going to get anything done. But now it's kind of like, after been doing that for like a year and a half now, like I actually can hammer out a lot of words in 8 minutes. And because I've been doing that so regularly, I kind of find that like I can find those times. So it's like eight
Hmm.
minutes in the morning, 8 minutes at like mid-morning, 8 minutes on lunch or something like that. So it adds up. I get more done than I've done historically, which has been great. But it's just that mindset change for me was really a big one, and that helped unblock a lot of other things that I was kind of feeling.
Yeah, I think it allows you to understand that it is an incremental process as instead of just this one fluid thing that happens
Yeah,
all at once.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you felt when I was a kid, that's what I used to think. I used to think that like art was kind of created in one go. Like a book was just written and that's how it was. And it's like, no, it's not. I mean, it really isn't. But that's how I thought about it. And it's like, at some level I sort of like I knew that wasn't true, but like I think like I just couldn't match the two things together. And
Well,
you
it's
know,
almost like we're taught that because
yeah,
of the way the school system is structured.
yeah,
Like the pedagogical practices of how we were taught said it made us think that, oh, it's all in one sitting, and it's
yeah.
not.
It's
I
not,
do remember one university professor that I had. Now, I said the University of Victoria. Is that the University of Victoria here in British Columbia?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So that's where I did my undergrad. And one of my teachers there said, the creative process has a lot of waste involved, and you can't get upset about that.
yeah,
Like, just allow it to
yeah, yeah,
be what it is because
yeah.
it's
That's
a
true.
lot of trial and error. Think of a
Yeah,
potter who uses clay and all where most of the clay ends up,
yeah.
not in
Yeah,
the end
not in
product.
the product, no. No, and that's a good visual metaphor, I think, to have. I mean, nothing's ever wasted, right? In
Right.
that sense, like as a writer, I write scenes and they're like, okay, this isn't working and it's not right. I don't, I throw it in the proverbial garbage, but like the garbage is basically like another document, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this for something else. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of shaping, right? It's like the old metaphor of kind of like finding the statue, like in the marble, kind of like it's there all along. You just got to like cut the pieces out, and that's really how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just it's a difficult process, but I love the process part of it. Like as I said earlier, it's kind of that's the thing that really makes it valuable to me.
Yeah. Well, I was working with a piece this morning and I was playing around, moving the paragraphs around because the line or the narrative wasn't going the way that I wanted, but I wasn't willing to just delete them and throw them
Yeah,
away. I was just willing to move them around. And then I went, oh, okay, this is how it works.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting though hearing this process because I kind of feel, especially if you think about screenwriting, like there's lots of like there's lots of rules, right? And like people think it's
Hmm.
like a formula that you kind of like, oh, insert this, like crank the handle, and like there's the story. But it's really not like that at all. And it's kind of like there's so much like intuition and like yes, there are rules like to an extent about how we structure a story.
Hmm.
Um, but there's so many things that like you kind of think like, oh, I have to do it this way, and it's like actually is that's the thinking that kind of gets you stuck, and it's like moving things around is actually, oh, okay, that actually loosens it up and kind of makes it work better now. And it's just find it so interesting hearing about that because again, it's just like you're taught structure when you go to like a writing class or an education. It's mostly like structure, 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 and it's like yeah, structure is important, but it's not the be all and end all.
I know. It's and like the arc of the story and the character arcs, all of those are really important and they are part of the structure.
Yeah.
But just think about how your life is.
No, I know
And
mine's like very very seemingly
whoa,
chaotic and disordered, but yeah. But I mean, but it is. I mean, that is how it is. I mean, you can't necessarily present that to a reader because like the
no.
reader will be like completely lost. But I think if that helps you as a creator get to the place that you need to get to, then I think that's where you have to operate. And
Hmm.
like a lot of instruction is kind of like just kind of mechanical, and you can't follow it. Like sometimes it's like it's best to just kind of be aware of it, but think about things what work for you as a creator.
Yeah. One of the things I'll do is I'll just get it down on the page and then I'll leave it for either 24 hours or 3 hours, between 3 and 24 hours, and then come back to it and go, okay, this is how it needs to be
Yeah,
restructured. I mean, structure does matter, to be
yeah,
sure,
yeah. Could I
but
ask you,
don't.
could I ask a question to follow up on that about when you get to the end of a draft? Like how long do you leave a draft before you pick it up to do an edit?
About a week.
About a week? Okay, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
is that just for any size story or is that just for short stories or
Well, if it's a short story, sometimes I'll leave it for less time. And it also depends on whether what else is going on in my life because
yeah.
I have elder care that I do and I have a job that I do. So, and then, if the weather's nice, I'm going outside.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Well, yeah, because it's Vancouver, so it's kind of like
Right?
when the sun's out, you have to go.
Wait,
Yeah,
it's sunny. I gotta go
yeah, yeah.
outside. Um,
Okay,
especially in February.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I don't have hard and fast rules, but
yeah.
if it's a longer thing, I'll usually leave it a week because I do want to let it kind of settle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was just curious because like I'm actually on the other way. I actually leave it for a long time. Like I've got like a novel that I've finished. I haven't even looked at it like in at least 6 months now.
Oh, okay.
I'm like at some point I'm gonna have to so I have to kind of keep checking that it's still there because I'm like did I write a novel and it's kind of gone away? But like yeah, I've got to leave in it. And I don't really know like exactly when I'm gonna go back to it. But like yeah, I'm always just curious about how people approach it, like how much time you give yourself.
Yeah, I also give it to like I have a couple of beta readers that I can trust.
Right.
And I just throw it to them and then say, okay, here,
Yeah.
this is the first draft. Just be very gentle, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
And they're wonderful. And they give such good, they're very good.
Yeah.
I appreciate them so much.
Yeah, that's
And
and
I
that's
don't have
great.
to
Yeah.
pay them, which is really,
But that's just part of the community again, like having a community, right? Because you would do the same for them,
oh,
like
absolutely.
and that's it's not transactional. It's kind of like it is working like as a co-building story with people, right? I mean, that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, to be sure. To be sure. All right. I've got counting down 627 left. On this.
Yeah. See,
Is there anything else you want to talk to me about, or do you have?
uh, no, I mean, I've always got lots of things going on. So like,
Oh
if
yeah,
people are interested in what I'm doing, they can kind of just check out my website and all the updates kind of go there. I think that's kind of how I try and do it.
perfect. Well, we'll be linking your website and all of your other content down in the information box below. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and contribute to the community by telling us how long do you leave your manuscript for?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you leave your manuscript for after you finished it before you review it again?
Yeah. I'm curious. Yeah, I just like because yeah, I think it's everyone's different, and I'm just curious about how people do it. So it's a
To
good
be
question.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, John, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for being my guest on Joy Factor. I truly appreciate it. I enjoyed our conversation. I hope everybody else does as well. Please remember to like. And we'll see you around in the virtual sphere, John, and hopefully
Yeah.
in person at other conferences as they come around.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That'd be great.
All right. Well, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.